Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton, and on this episode, we will be talking about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And we're going to go over their season, some free agents to be on their team, and some potential free agents that they could go after. We're going to do all that and more in just a minute. But of course, with every episode, we open it up with the Get It Off Your Chest segment. It can be in football, it can be in any sport. But on this episode, we're going to show and give props to Diana Taurasi. Now, Diana Taurasi announced her retirement today. Definitely is a 20 years worth of playing. She is the WNBA's all-time leading scorer, one of the best to ever do it. A lot of people consider her the greatest of all time in WNBA and women's basketball. Now, I know there's some that'll say different players as well, just depending upon the generation. But I will say she has definitely been one that, of course, plays with edge, tenacity, and ultimately just competes her tail off out there. And I had to come on here and show respect to her. I hope she enjoys retirement and finds fulfillment in the next stage of her life. And I just had to come on here and show love to her. I mean, all-time WNBA scorer, won multiple championships, always a feisty competitor on the court. Sure, she got some technical fouls, things like that, but there's a lot of players that do that as well. So, but she is an all-time great. Definitely will be a Hall of Famer. It's a matter of when, not if, for Miss Diana Taurasi. I just want to say thank you for what all you've done for the game. Thank you for what all you've given to the game. And again, wishing you well on your next journey in life. Yes, that's the Get It Off Your Chest segment for this episode, showing some love to Diana Taurasi on her retirement. I know whatever she plans on doing next, she's definitely going to do it very, very well and compete at it just as hard as she did on the court. All right. Now, of course, had to show love to Diana Taurasi, but this episode is about the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars, for those that don't know, they finished the season at a 4-13 record, which was a far cry from where plenty thought they would finish this season. Now, of course, starting the season, there was Jags fans that thought that this team, with what they had, could potentially compete with the Houston Texans for the AFC South crown. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Of course, losing to them twice this year, not necessarily being consistent. I mean, looking at things, a lot of people had the hype up and everything, but they had injuries where it comes to like Christian Kirk. That wasn't good. It's a couple years in a row that he's in this season with an injury. And he was, definitely a guy that they depend on in the receiving core, along with Brian Thomas Jr., which he had an outstanding rookie season. I mean, 87 receptions, 1,282 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Big play after big play. So I have to salute him for the great and wonderful season that he had. However, it was not in a winning campaign for the Jaguars. Like I mentioned, injuries to Christian Kirk, also injury to Trevor Lawrence, shoulder injury. They went ahead and basically, put him on IR for the rest of the season. Hopefully, for the Jaguars and the fan base of the Jaguars, for the Jaguars organization and the fan base of the Jaguars, he is able to kind of, heal up and get himself prepared for another season next year. Now, offensively, you can talk about the injuries and things like that, but let's be real. The offensive line was pretty doggone bad. I mean, it was. They figured, I guess they could stick a Band-Aid on it or bring in Mitch Morse, from Buffalo. And that would be really all they needed. Sign back Ezra Cleveland as well at guard, but it did not work out. It did not work out at all. and hence the mess that we got at the offensive line for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence, of course, like I mentioned, hurt. Kind of, even though he does have the inconsistencies at the quarterback position, he still, he still is kind of running around for his life out there too. So it's a combination of both. It isn't one or the other. It's a combination of both. Of course, you're expecting your number one overall generational talent player to step up to another level. However, you can't always expect that when a line that can't protect you either. So, that's always a give and a take when you're assessing Trevor Lawrence. But of course, just not the things you wanted offensively. The biggest thing is that a lot of Jaguars fans, a lot of people around the Jaguars, talking about maybe Doug Peterson maybe pulling the plug on having Press Taylor being his offense coordinator and calling the plays and just kind of taking over the reins. He never wanted to do that. The one that felt like it was okay, and he got increasingly a little bit more intense with the media down there. Never took over those options, the option of running the offense, and hence his job was gone. He was fired. But I will say this: with his firing came a great surprise, also, which is GM Trent Baalke was gone. Which you thought that Trent Baalke was going to stay there because it took so long for them to fire him. However, he was gone as well before they hired their new coach, which I'm going to mention in a second. But going back to the Jaguars on the field this past season, defensively, it's pretty interesting. I mean, you take your two best players. You see Ryan Nielsen and, all the things that he did with the Atlanta Falcons defense. He comes to Jacksonville. You expect those things. You didn't get those things at all. You got key situations, and you've got Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker on the sideline. Very unexplainable. I mean, you've got your corner, your corner that you just paid wasn't necessarily on the field all the time, but he wasn't necessarily, I guess, the guy you thought he was this season all the time. And for a guy, when you paid him that type of money, you expect him to take it to another level. It just didn't happen this season for him. Of course, you have a little bit of issues with the secondary. You don't have Savage playing. He wasn't very savage in the defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. And then you also had Cisco, who's playing very incomplete. Somebody's going to get that one. But he just wasn't playing very well going into a free agent offseason for him, by the way. But yeah, just wasn't necessarily the best season for them. And of course, I gotta mention Eric Armstead. They, of course, the saga of was he supposed to play inside or outside, and who was saying who was doing what. But either way it goes, he didn't have the intended impact that many thought he would. Hopefully for them next year, he jumps back inside and creates havoc in the interior as opposed to trying to line up outside, which is not necessarily his forte. This wasn't necessarily a great season all around for the Jaguars. And then, of course, Jaguars, when they did get leads, they gave up leads. Mac Jones came in there and he played valiantly for, McCorkle Jones. I got to remember. I will call him McCorkle Jones. But anyway, a reason why I do that is because, I feel like, when you played at Mac Jones level, I call him Mac Jones. When you play McCorkle, I give him McCorkle. So McCorkle Jones came in to play for Trevor Lawrence. And, it had some good moments and he had some other moments as well. But, when he had the good moments, the defense couldn't hold the lead at those points in time. So it is what it is. And that's what happened. And that's the reason why Doug Peterson has no job in Jacksonville anymore. And they went out and hired Liam Cohen, Mr. Duval. Yeah, I know the people remember that one. But anyway, yeah, they hired Liam Cohen, Tampa Bay offensive coordinator, as the new head coach. Brought in GM James Gladstone, who is a former Rams guy. So he's been in the Rams organization. You saw what the Rams have done with their picks and making every pick count when it comes to their roster. So I guess they're hoping to strike gold with these two young guys as their head coach and general manager. We'll see what happens. But, of course, first we got to talk about these free agents that they have and the free agents that they are going to have to make some decisions on that are on their own team. We're going to get into that and more right after this commercial break on Touring the AFC South.
EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash are two of the best beard grooming products for men worldwide. They help promote growth, keep your beard moisturized and soft, and enhance your overall upkeep of your facial hair. And with the new promo code MPAFC10, you can get 10% off all these products. Just go to www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. Again, that's www.etsy.com/shop/EBO Beard Butter. And again, the promo code MPAFC10. Again, MPAFC10, where you can get 10% off any products except for beard boxes. So treat your beard better today by going to get these the EBO Beard Butter and EBO Beard Wash.
All right, and we are back on touring the AFC South. And as I mentioned before the commercial break, we're going to talk about the free agents to be when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. There is some decisions that have to be made. For sure. Definitely. Going to be some decisions that have to be made with that team. But thinking about those decisions and that team, of course, you don't know what they're going to do. Could they bring this guy back, or could they not bring this guy back? And that guy that I'm first thinking of would be Mr. Andre Cisco. Now, he definitely is one that they're going to have to think on. I mean, he's a talented safety. There's no doubt about that. He's a talented safety. However, he is not. He did not have the greatest of seasons under Ryan Nielsen last year. Now, I was going into the season, I thought he would have a better season than what he had. I thought that he would be put in the Jesse Bates role for Ryan Nielsen defense. It just didn't seem to all work out, whether it was I guess the vibe in the locker room, the connection between Nielsen and the players, or whatever it was. But whatever it was, it just did not work out for Cisco and this defense. Now, of course, next season there's a new defense, so we'll see what happens. But that's a decision that the Jaguars have to make. Would I keep him? Yes, I would keep him. However, it may cost you a pretty penny. I mean, he is a talented safety. He may have knocked down some of his value with the season he had last year. However, he still is a very talented safety. And you don't want to look for two starting safeties, because I'm pretty sure they're going to replace the other starting safety. So you don't want to look for two starting safeties. So I would say you may want to hang on to him, in my opinion. That's just my thoughts there. But one other guy that I think it's over for in Jacksonville, and that's Brandon Scherff. I remember he signed from the Washington Commanders to come to Jacksonville, and there was a big deal made about it. You get your veteran lineman that's one of the best in the game, and all those different things. But unfortunately, he just has not been that all the time for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, he's led to some of the problems they are having with their offensive line. He is 33 years old, but I would say his age probably plays a little bit older than 33 years old on the field, and that tends to happen sometimes. Some people, it hits you fast and life comes at you fast. And some people, they're able to fight Father Time and win just a few more years longer. However, which way it did for him, unfortunately, might be time to be up in Jacksonville for him. And of course, he's missing blocks, things like that. And when you have a franchise quarterback, or what they believe to be their franchise quarterback, you have to have protection up front. And he's just not getting it done. They may as well move forward and look for a replacement there. We're going to get into some potential replacements in a minute. But first, I have to talk about some potential cut candidates. Now, I did take a look at a list, and there was a particular gentleman on there that was their leading receptions guy in 2023. His name Evan Ingram. Now, do I think Evan Ingram gets cut? No. I just thought that was really interesting that, somebody really had I want to borrow a word from Stephen A. Smith, unmitigated gall to put him on that list. Evan Ingram. Wow. Would I cut him? No. I would cut him. He still is very valuable to that offense. Just had a little bit of the injury bug last year. Provided if he goes into this season, has the injury bug again, then you start thinking about it. I would definitely say you start thinking about it then. But as for right now, no, I would not, think of cutting Evan Ingram. Maybe a restructure, perhaps, maybe. But I mean, they've got $38.2 million in cap space this offseason. I think they'll be okay. Now, as far as a cut I would make, that'd be Christian Kirk. Now, Christian Kirk, when he first signed his deal in Jacksonville, so many people had things to say. He's not worth it. He's not this. He's not that. And he promptly went out there and had 1,000-yard season and looked very much the part of what Jacksonville envisioned him of being. Unfortunately, the last couple of years, the injury bug has bit him. And, when the injury bug keeps biting over and over again and your salary doesn't look nice to the team, yeah, you get where I'm going. It just doesn't look good to the team. So they think about maybe you'll be better over there somewhere, and just not with us. Now, Christian Kirk was, one of the free agents that did come there and get paid by this team. And they definitely like him there and probably like him with the organization as well. I mean, or else he would still be there right now. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to make tough decisions and you got to take the emotions out of it. And in this case, you have to take the emotions out of it. I think Christian Kirk is it can be a solid wide receiver, but, I don't know if he can be the running mate for Brian Thomas Jr. at this point with the consistent injuries the last couple seasons and things like that. But maybe if they can come together on a lower number, maybe renegotiate things, perhaps, or redo his contract, perhaps he could stay in Jacksonville. But at this point, with the number, no, he cannot stay in Jacksonville. He's going to have to move on to greener pastures, and that opens up spots or competition at the wide receiver spot. You do have Gabe Davis coming back this season. I've been on record talking about how inconsistent he can be, but hey, you'll have him back next season. He can make big plays. He can make no plays. It's just a matter of which one you're going to get that week. This is what it is. But, they do have Parker Washington, who is an exciting young player. I do enjoy watching him. They have another young man. I can't remember the exact name of him, but he's a very talented wide receiver as well. I mean, they've got some young, talented wide receivers to step in. We'll see if they go that route or if they go to get another wide receiver. Yeah, it could happen. We're going to get to, speaking of getting other wide receivers and getting other talent in there to help, we're going to get into that in the next segment. We're going to take a quick commercial break, talk about potential free agent signings or people to look at on touring the AFC South.
A shift. A shift is something that happens and changes the dynamics. And that's what happened when Garrett Logistics was born. After 10 years as a sales pro in the logistics world of sporting goods, John Garrett decided to pivot to the world of freight and start a brokerage. So you're saying to yourself, why trust Garrett Logistics? Well, Garrett Logistics helps shippers improve overall workflow, along with increased on-time pickup and delivery percentages. Last-minute loads, multi-drop pickups, and more are part of the services with Garrett Logistics. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., all times Central Standard Time. So give them a ring at 615-400-8484. That's 615-400-8484, or you can email them at john@garrettlogistics.co or visit their website at garrettlogistics.co. Garrett Logistics, where the motto is, it's not just freight to us, it's your business.
All right, and we are back on touring the AFC South. Of course, like I mentioned before the break, we were going to get into the free agent wish list. That would be for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, of course, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, there's some weaknesses, and of course, I'm pretty sure everyone knows. They do have Anton Harrison at one tackle, and they do have Walker Little, which I'm pretty sure he's going to be the starting other left tackle. So I don't think they're going to be looking for a tackle, which means they're going to be looking at guards and centers. Me specifically, I put down guard for them as a position to look at. I mean, I know they got Ezra Cleveland in there. Add another guard. I think they maybe keep Mitch Morse another season, and there we go. But for me, of course, keep in mind they could probably have more money than the 38 million in cap space. And keep in mind it isn't the entire contract in terms of everything too, because these contracts are made of toilet paper or one ply at that. So the only thing that counts is really the guaranteed amount of money. That is it. But I'm going to mention a couple guards that may be appealing too. The Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, of course, these two guards are going to be probably your two highest paid guards on the market. Now, it isn't to say that it couldn't happen because, hey, we saw what happened with Brandon Sheriff when he was one of the highest paid guards in terms of, a really, really big time name, and they brought him to Jacksonville. It just didn't work out the way they thought it would. But one name, Trey Smith. Now, guard for Kansas City Chiefs. Now, do I think the Kansas City Chiefs make a run at keeping him? Yes. Do I think they ultimately are able to come up with enough money? Depends on what he's looking for. Does he want to get paid? Does he want to win and get paid? Or does he want to just win? Now, if he thinks he can win and get paid in Jacksonville, hey, there you go. Yeah, that would be something there. But, I don't know. I don't know if Jacksonville figures to, to go like that and, go back to go to an organization, maybe the Mark Brunell days where they were winning, Mark Brunell, Jimmy Smith, and Keenan McCardle, when they were winning consistently in those days and doing some things in those days, being exciting. Do I think they go back to that? No. But, Trey Smith may see something there. He may also see the money. But either way it goes, that's potentially a guy that you see them go after. I would see them making a run at Trey Smith. Also, another guy, Will Fries. He plays for the Indianapolis Colts. He played for the Indianapolis Colts. Now, this will be a double whammy. They would hurt the Indianapolis Colts, but they would strengthen their offensive line. Boy, oh boy. I'm pretty sure that Will Fries is tired of losing when it being in Indianapolis Colts in Jacksonville. They've lost quite a few times there in Jacksonville, folks. If you don't know how many times, go check the stats, how many times the Colts have lost in Jacksonville over the last, 15, 20 years. Just go check it out. I promise you will be entertained by that answer. But, Will Fries would give them a nice physical guy up front that, solid in pass protection, but also would help in the running game. That is what the Jacksonville Jaguars need. Now, Liam Cohen, we saw what he did in Tampa Bay. He liked to run the football. He liked to run it with multiple backs. And Will Fries would be the spokesman for that, especially between the tackles. Yes. So that would be an option there for them. Of course, that's a little bit, maybe a little bit high priced for them. Maybe they don't care. Who knows? We shall indeed see. But hey, they don't have no cap space. They have a pretty good amount of cap space. So we'll see what they end up doing, or if they end up trying to maximize the cap space with, as many signings as possible. We'll see what happens. We've seen it happen before. Stay tuned. But those are two there. Of course, there's some other ones there, but I just figured I'd mention these two as a thought. As far as wide receiver, now, of course, plenty will talk about a running mate for Brian Thomas Jr., and they'll mention the high-priced names like a T. Higgins. No, I don't think a T. Higgins is coming to Jacksonville. I mean, he's talented, he's big, he's fast, he does a lot of good things with the football in his hand, he runs good routes, but he's just not going to be running good routes for Jacksonville. I don't see that happening. So I thought about this one, and I thought about somebody that can take the top off of defense, but yet is more consistent catching the football. Has his moments, I will say. He's had his moments during his career. but has been more consistent over time and has been dealing with a bad quarterback, yet still putting up yards. Now, I will say, he isn't like the world's greatest wide receiver, or he hasn't put up like 1,000 yards or all those different things. But I think with a better quarterback or an upgrade in talent quarterback that he's playing with, I think he could potentially get closer to 1,000 yards. This guy, Mr. Darius Slayton, that'd be for the from the New York Giants. I mean, he had 39 receptions, 573 yards, and 2 touchdowns last year. Wasn't necessarily anything to write home about, overall in terms of the grand scheme of things. However, with a better quarterback and more reps, I think he could step in there and do some things and make some things happen. So, that's a guy that you could get for a great value, but could supersede that value with how he produces on the field as well. So you basically get a bargain potentially. Now, I know Jacksonville Jaguar fans don't want to hear about a bargain playing next to Brian Thomas Jr., but you already paid Gabe Davis. I don't think they're going to go out and pay another wide receiver. I just don't see it. That's just not, I guess, my thinking. However, I could be wrong. We've seen wilder things. We've seen the Detroit Lions draft wide receiver after wide receiver after wide receiver. So there you go. We could see it happen. But in my estimation, I think you go with maybe a lower tier wide receiver, maybe a second or third tier wide receiver. Darius Slayton, I think, fits that bill to me. All right, cornerback. That is another one that they need to take a look. They have, Ron Darby out there, and that was Doug Peterson's guy from the Philadelphia Eagles days. But I just don't think he's a guy that's supposed to be a starter on this team. Now, the question comes, do they want to pay? How much do they want to pay for the cornerback position? Now, if you're looking at DJ Reed from the Jets, does he end up staying in New York with the Jets, or does he find greener pastures? We'll see what happens. But let's say he comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars, or tries to come to the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're going to end up trying to pay him maybe it's going to be between 11 and 13 million, probably. Which that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. And just per the estimates from PFF, I believe it's around between 10 and 13 million, which, people are like, wow, that's a lot of money. But I'm like, okay, you also got to remember, the guaranteed money and all those different things. Now the cap can be stretched out over years. So it isn't quite as much money as you would think it is, even though it's not anyone to sneeze at. It's not quarterback money or stuff like that. But that would be a good addition to that team. He's used to being the Robin to somebody else's Batman, because I'm pretty sure the Jaguars are going to believe that Tyson Campbell is their number one corner. So, he's someone, DJ Reed, that's used to being a Robin, especially the Sauce Gardner. And it would be interesting just to see how a change of scenery and a change of defense actually does for him in terms of, is he successful outside of the New York Giants defense? We'll see. But he is someone that will probably be looked at by a few teams. And by a few teams, I'm saying that tongue-in-cheek. Byron Murphy from the Minnesota Vikings wasn't exactly the most heralded guy by some when he signed with Minnesota a couple years back, but he definitely has made his reputation of being a guy that's sticky, can make things happen, when the ball's in the air. He's pretty confident guy when it comes to his abilities. So it would be interesting just to see how they could fit his contract in and maybe add him to the team, or try to add him to the team. Now, he is going to cost, he's not going to be cheap either. But, as we saw, the cap has risen. And then also, they may put a premium on that position or a cost of that position that they want to invest in. Now, the last guy I'm going to talk about, I've talked about him before in the AFC South for other teams, is Kendall Fuller from the Miami Dolphins. He's going to be cut, so he'll be available. He's a veteran, played a good bit of man, good bit of zone in Miami, so it isn't like he's not averse to playing either style. He'd be a good veteran get to not only add for young guys, but also to add for your locker room. To add for your play as well. He's going to be a solid guy. Now, Ronald Darby, of course, did he get put in some bad positions sometimes by either his coordinator or his players around him? Yes. But he's not a guy that needs to be starting in the NFL. In my opinion, I think he's more of a backup type role. And I think that you bring in Kendall Fuller, he can be that starter for you. Just my thoughts, but hey, it's always been fun diving into free agency when it comes to teams. The next up on the teams will be the Tennessee Titans, and we're going to have a good bit of fun diving into all the different things there. But until then, of course, my name is Mike Patton. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton82. That's MikePatton 82. You can find me on Blue Sky by the same tag as well. Also, you can find me on Instagram and Threads at that's THA, not THE _general_MP. Of course, Touring the AFC South is on all listening platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. And we are also on YouTube. Whichever way you like to listen or see Touring the AFC South, go ahead and subscribe so that and click the bell where you can click the bell on Spotify and on YouTube. And just go ahead and subscribe and set it up for notifications for any other places as well, so you don't miss any episodes. I thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Touring the AFC South as we talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and their season and what happened during the season. So I want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode of Touring the AFC South, episode 322. We're out. Peace.